Great. Thanks again for the introduction. So, hi, everybody. Today, we're talking about scaling and automation and how we can make it easier through process analysis. To it, what it means. It's really automation. Everyone has a different idea what it means when your boss comes down and says, hey, let's start this new project so that we can start scaling our business. Or, hey, we need to go and acquire a bunch of robotics or new IT so that we can automate. But we're going to spend some time in this presentation to really define what these words mean in a discrete and replicable way so you kind of understand what we're talking about when we list these concepts. And then we're going to, in addition, once we lay that framework, or that groundwork rather, we're going to talk about how we can use process analysis and what kind of process analysis to support those activities in a more intelligent and kind of consistent way. So with that little bit of preface, the agenda, we're going to talk about what is automation and scaling, and then we're going to talk about capturing and visualizing process information and how we measure it to successfully support those activities. And then we'll end with some case studies where Cavi has engaged with some smaller clients to help this happen, just to cement the ideas. One thing I want to say before we start is, at each section we're going to have a break, but please feel free to just queue up your questions as you go, and I'll try to get to as many of them as I can when it makes sense, and especially at the section breaks, I'll spend some time doing that. All right, so sustaining profitability during growth. And when we talk about automation and scaling, fundamentally, we're talking about business growth. That's where you start the conversation. What is business growth? It's the acquiring consistent increases in business revenue over time. That's what we mean technically when we talk about a business growing. It's not you have a flash sale or you have some marketing promotion and you have this resurge in revenue for a certain period. It's when your business is consistently taking in more revenue over time, because that is what triggers you to have to push your capabilities up to match that revenue increase. And that's really what we're talking about when we talk about a business growing. Sources of growth could include new revenue generating products or services. Let's say that you just finished a major project and now you've got a new revenue generating item in your business portfolio. You could just be increasing your market share with your current products and services, meaning you have a strong operating process and now you just need to do more of it because either you're growing organically or the market's finding you, or you've opened up maybe a new geography through a contract. Whatever it is, you're doing the same stuff you've been doing, but you're doing more of it, or the market is demanding more of it. And then in larger companies, you have a combination of those things occurring. So you have projects in pipeline that are creating new market offerings. You have strengthening happening organically or through paid marketing of your standard processes or your stable processes, and those things are contributing to growth of the company. So when we talk about sustaining growth, or we want to talk about profitable growth, we've got automation and scaling are actually the main ways you can do that. So let's start with what automation is. It's the design of processes that can operate with little or no human intervention. I want to let that sink in for a second, because automation does not mean putting a robot in place. There's a huge misconception out there in the market right now that to automate, I need to buy the newest software program, I need to bring in the newest machine, I need to invest in this robot that can do stuff for me. Automation has nothing to do with that. Automation is fundamentally a process level project, which is to say, if you look at this diagram here where you have a simple process map, you see these red arrows that are pointing to the decision trees or the decision nodes or points, or however you're familiar with that language in process mapping. That is where all of automation occurs. And what you want to do is, in most processes, you've got people in your organization that when a fork in the road comes, either this data comes into the process or this input comes into the process, somebody has to make a decision. And the more complicated the variables are in making that decision, typically the more that resources is paid, or say they have that experience or enhanced judgment, so they can consistently and accurately make the decision in the right way, so that the process flows to the most appropriate path that it needs to get to the end conclusion that the company's looking for. It is in those decision points where all automation occurs. And it just means structuring the process logic so that the inputs create a very consistent and standard output decision. And I put in here mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive criteria, basically, in which situations are going to be judged, assessed, and an output path is going to be chosen, or an output variable. Mutual exclusive and collectively exhaustive is a very important concept in organizing data. I'm just going to touch it briefly here, but mutually exclusive means that any decision that could be made from a given set of variables coming into a decision point, it can only be read one way. So if you, let's say that you have a decision right here that says, what kind of channel is it for this e-distribution thing? And you've got choices low touch and high touch. Depending what the channel input is coming into the decision point, the output, wherever that data falls to determine whether it's low touch or high touch, there can't be any overlap between the criteria there. That means it's mutually exclusive decision criteria. There's no way that a data point, let's say the data point is numeric and the E channel is graded as a 5. The 5 has to trigger either one path or the other. If there's a chance that 5 could be in a situation where it touches on both, then it's no longer mutually exclusive and your decision criteria is fundamentally broken. Collective exhaustivity, or the collectively exhaustive piece of that, is that whatever decision criteria you have in place, it covers all the possible inputs coming into that decision point. So let's say, again, the number comes in as 7, and I have to make a decision whether that grade means it's low touch or high touch. If the criteria to determine doesn't even contain a 7, then your process decision is broken again. Essentially then, if you can create MECE criteria for all of your decision points, what you're doing is making it so that anything, a human, a lower skilled employee, a robot, whatever it is, then can be given that criteria and decisions can be made smoothly with little ambiguity and no effort. This is the process of automation. And strong automation drives the cost of operating processes down over time. So if you think about how this looks in a practical situation, if I have a person who's making critical decisions for the business, either they're reading incoming data or they're reading, even in the manufacturing floor, let's say a piece comes through and somebody's QAing it with their eyes and looking at, is this defective or not? They go through a series of decisions in their head. Sometimes it uses tacit knowledge. Sometimes it's just tons of experience and looking at small variables that other people might not see to make the decision. But either way, automation is the process over time of getting to those folks in your organization, clearly documenting what their consistent decision-making process is and why, and making MECE decision criteria. Then it doesn't matter who does it. It's automated at the decision level, at the process design level. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about automation. So now let's move on to scaling. What is scaling exactly? Scaling is the acquisition of new people and or technology to increase operating model capacity given a known operating process design. So I know that sounds like a mouthful. I'm going to give you a little more and explain what I'm talking about.
Hi there, I hope you enjoyed that last clip. My name is Michael Maludis, and if you'd like to watch the full 60 minutes of that last webcast, while also gaining complete unlimited access to our entire library of IT learning, simply visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Unlimited annual access is $199 per year, but if you use the coupon code LEARN to earn, you can drop that membership fee to just $149. That's less than $13 per month for unlimited access to over 1,000 hours of on-demand career development, covering the entire spectrum of IT management best practices, including business analysis and requirements, software development, quality and testing, risk management, process improvement, project management, and even digital transformation. But your membership doesn't just give you unlimited access to our vast learning library. You also get free access to our mobile app, as well as direct access to our network of over 300 of the world's leading IT consultants, all of whom are dedicated to putting practical knowledge at your fingertips so that you can learn more and earn more. I hope you will join me in becoming a member of the Great IT Professional and advancing your career with us. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button above so that you get notified whenever we publish new free webcasts each week of the year. Thank you for your time and best wishes for your continued success.